Welcome to the Aim High podcast. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Mike Morawski. He's a real estate pro with over 30 years experience and a very unique backstory. He's the host of the Insider Secrets podcast and a published author. Mike has handled over $300 million in transactions and 4,000 multifamily units. Join us for this engaging chat with Mike. Hear all of that and more, where we provide real estate investors with the tools to achieve generational wealth. Welcome to the Aim High podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Aim High podcast. Today, I am joined by Mike Morawski.
Hey, Bud, how are you? Been looking forward to this.
Doing great. So am I. I am really looking forward to this. Your story is incredible. Anyone who loves a comeback story should be listening to you. Mike, can you do me a favor and just give me a quick introduction? I know you and I have already had conversations, but I just want to hear who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in real estate 30 years. I am a coach and a trainer. I love to teach investors how to invest in multifamily and not make the mistakes that I made along the way. I've written a couple of books, recently released Exit Plan, Your Complete Guide to Multifamily Investing and Why You Need an Exit Plan Before You Buy. And I'm the chief investment officer of a multifamily hedge fund. We buy large apartment complexes in the south and the southeast of the United States, and we partner with private investors to maximize their returns and share in the returns with them.
Mike, we're going to run all of this together just because your story is so interesting, and I could have us go down this list of questions and be all scripted, but I just want you to tell me the way we spoke about this last week, how you got into real estate, and then what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in the general contracting business, and I always tell people, I say, hey, like any good entrepreneur, I did everything. I did sales and marketing, writing contracts, doing bids and estimates, hiring people, firing people, doing the bookkeeping, and I was still in the field banging nails. Was really burning out. And I woke up one morning and I vividly remember sitting up in bed looking at my wife saying, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And fortunately, I had somebody knocking on my door to buy my company. And we sold. I sold the company and was going to take a year off. But like any good entrepreneur, you never take time off. And I decided that I wanted to house hack a couple of the houses along the way. And this is really my first venture into real estate investing. And I house hacked long before it was sexy. Now everybody does it, but back then it was unheard of. It was like, you're doing what? And so we house hacked a couple of houses, but along the way, I had met a real estate agent who was really successful. And I had remembered Jim Rohn saying years ago that success leaves clues. And I went to this real estate agent and said, hey, listen, I think I want to go in the real estate business. And he encouraged me. He said, I think you'd be really good at it. And so I went and got licensed, went back to him, said, I'd like to shadow your team. And he said, no. He said, I'm going to do one better than that. I'm going to make you a cassette tape. So now I'm really dating myself, right? Because I don't think we can find anything to make a cassette tape on today. But he made me this cassette tape, and I equate it to podcasts of today. So I went back and listened to this thing over and over again. And I took those fundamentals, those little skills and nuggets that he taught me on that tape, and I implemented them in my real estate business. My first 9 months in the business, I sold 78 houses. I was RE/MAX Rookie of the Year. I'm a little bit of an overachiever. And I went on to build a team selling 125 homes a year and did that consecutively for about 12 years. 2005 rolled around and started to see the market starting to shift and soften. And I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. But starting to know that I wasn't going to keep the production up that I had going, I started to look at other options. And I'd always wanted to be in the apartment business because here's what I understood about it. I said, you could raise private capital from private individuals, marry it with a great real estate deal, stay in the middle, and as long as everything goes well, everybody's going to make money. And so 2005, I decided to go out and syndicate my first multifamily property. And syndication is just a fancy word for saying, hey, bud, I ask you to be my partner. You put some money in the deal and I do all the work. So I syndicated my first deal. And after that, it went well. And after that, I raised $18 million. I bought $60 million worth of real estate. It was about 4,000 apartments in 5 U.S. markets, and built a property management company managing 7,500 units. Built a $100 million company in 30 months. 2008 rolled around, and it was like hitting a brick wall in a freight train. Smashed into that wall, and the world just started to change.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you want to unpack anything or want me to keep going.
Yeah, man. All right. You're building this massive company, and I know where we're going to go. I just want to just go with this. So you're creating all of this wealth, creating this, the best way to describe it is this empire and you're living large. We're going into 2008, which everyone remembers as being one of the worst periods for real estate, at least as far as the single family homes went. What happened when that happened?
Yeah, great question. Two things that I had in mind at the time. One was I wanted to build a company that employed 1,000 people, because I wanted to, in my own thinking, that was a way of giving back, right? By providing jobs and building into people, because people build a company. It's teams that build companies, right? And I wanted to build this company because I saw what this Chicago area syndicator did over the years, who grew. Today, they're one of the largest REITs in the world. And so I knew the potential behind what I was doing. But I also wanted to provide safe and secure housing for my tenants. So those were my two main goals. I built this company, and I always tell people I made 5 mistakes, right? I grew way too fast. I was very unstable as a company. I was undercapitalized and over leveraged. I had 80 or $60 million worth of real estate at 85% loan to value. And I don't know who was worse, me for taking the money or the banks for giving it to me at the time. Today, I tell people don't even invest unless you're 65 to 70% in a deal. And I didn't pay attention to the details along the way. So I didn't watch red flags. So we kept building and building this company. We hit this brick wall in 2008 and start to unravel as a company. So we were in markets that didn't have employment diversification. We were in markets that had instability in them. We didn't pay attention to the markets before we went into them. And this caused some backlash. So I had 38 companies at the time, 12 of which I should have just let go to foreclosure. Handful of investors get hurt, but I tried to save everybody. Went to my accountant, went to my attorney, and crafted a plan that if I moved money from profitable companies to non-profitable companies, I could keep the company afloat. So I started to do that. But in my defense, I thought it was a recession, right? That this would last 17 or 18 months, that the market would have a 10 or 12% correction and then bounce back. And I'd be able to weather that storm, put the money back. But we all know 2008 was 7 or 8 years, was a 40% correction in the market. I know people today that are still suffering from that. I started moving money, trying to keep my company afloat. What happened was I didn't disclose it to my investors, the movement of money. And we suspended returns, told the investors we couldn't pay returns, trying to keep the company afloat. And I wound up getting charged on wire fraud and mail fraud charges and got sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for non-disclosure issues. I went to prison in 2013 after losing everything, my business, all our apartments. all our employees, my family got destroyed. And I always tell people, I say, hey, I never flew private. I didn't have a big boat. I didn't have a big house or a fancy car. I was the neighborhood baseball coach, home every night for dinner. And I got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with three men I didn't know, nor did I like, wondering what the hell happened in my life. So I'm walking around in prison every day for 6 weeks, and I wondering, how am I going to get through today, much less 10 years of this? And I walk into gym one day, and I always tell people, I say, hey, look, I was only window shopping at the time. I went from running marathons to being 35 pounds overweight. I absolutely hated myself. Walk in the gym. This guy walks up to me and he says, hey, look, don't let these people beat you. All they want to do is take from you everything you've ever known. They can take your business, they can destroy your family, but they can't take who you are and what you're made of. They can't take your knowledge. They can't take what's inside of you, your passion and desire that helped you build that $100 million company. He said, get over it. He said, start coming to my class every day. Start working out. You'll start to feel better. And I had no interest, but I don't know what happened. I believe we all have these defining moments in our life where a switch flips and we go, you know what? Let me try something different. I said, okay. I started going to his class. I started working out. I started to lose weight. I started to feel better. I had more energy. I could think better. I wound up going to college. I got a bachelor's degree in theology. I wrote 2 books. One is Exit Plan. I'd love to give a copy away at the end of the show to your listeners. I wrote a book on property management. I wrote a couple of home study courses for real estate. I wrote an ethics course, and I taught real estate investing, property management, and ethics in prison for 6 years. I was on an outreach program, went into the community. I told my story 40 times to local business owners and college students. I wound up meeting a professor along the way from the University of Minnesota, and he and I co-authored a paper together that we had published in the Business Journal of Ethics that today gets taught at the collegiate level for forensic accounting and sales and marketing classes. But I came home in 2020 from my prison into the pandemic prison where the world was shut down. And I said, hey, I'm going to go in the coaching and training business. And I did. I went into the coaching and training business, started underwriting deals again. And underwriting is just a fancy word for saying that I'm analyzing a property to see if it makes sense to buy. And I found a property and went to a couple of my coaching clients and said, hey, do you want to partner on this? And we wound up buying a deal. But the interesting thing along the way was that my securities attorney said, hey, I think I can get you approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission. I said, hey, have at it. And she did. She went away 3 months later, came back, said, look what I got. I have an approval. You can raise capital. You can go back and be an issuer of securities, a sponsor of deals. And today I'm in the coaching and training business, teaching people how to build a business and partnering with some of my coaching clients. And we're buying multifamily and syndicating it.
That is from the beginnings to from the frying pan to the fire cliche, to the recovery, to the execution, to the growth again. It's amazing to me the differences that occurred in your life in that period of time. And the thing that really stands out the most is that mindset shift while you were in prison. You know, some people can look at that and go, well, that was a motivating moment, but it's not just motivation. It's the discipline that you showed after that motivating moment to continue on down that path and then recover fully when you got out. It's impressive to me, Mike.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And listen, don't let me diminish it at all. I broke the law, and I feel awful for the investors that got hurt along the way. And I take full responsibility for that. But today, I have something that you don't have, Bud. and I hope you never have it, right, is that experience and the change in life and the learning of lessons. But I think I carry a message of hope and inspiration. And I really want people to understand that I don't want them to be defined by their past. I think so many people are trapped in prisons in their own mind about maybe past abuse, whether it be physical or sexual, or past addictions or addictions that they're trapped in. You can't let your past define your future. You can change at any time. And it makes no difference how old you are. Heck, bud, I went to prison. I was 53. I'm not going to tell you how old I am today, but I am actually, I feel better today than I ever felt. Learn from people's mistakes. I said earlier that Jim Rohn said success leaves clues. And I really believe that, because whether somebody's made mistakes or had great successes, you can learn from both people. And you can grow as a result of those if you listen to those lessons.
Incredible. I threw away the script. Normally we have this script, we go down this list, we ask these simple questions, but Mike, your story is, number one, inspiring, and number two, I just wanted to hear it again. I just wanted to hear it again. And the way you tell it, it's fluid. The fact that you should be a professor, in my opinion, but hey, that's just me, right?
Yeah.
I've got to ask you, with the recovery and everything, we know what you're doing right now with the coaching, but what's the future hold?
Yeah, gosh, I put a really good team together. I have a couple of partners that are awesome at what they do. And I'm really a big advocate of figuring out what you're really good at, and to put a good team together, go find people that are good at what they do, but you complement each other. So in the multifamily business, there's a lot of moving parts. You got to find deals, underwrite them, do the due diligence. But then there's all that compliance stuff, the legal paperwork, the insurance, the funding, the investor relations, all of that kind of stuff. Then there's the construction management and the construction budgeting. And go find, I'm really good at building relationships, raising capital, finding deals, underwriting deals. I have a really good underwriter that we start there. When we find something, we see if it makes sense. And then I go put a team together. And I have a great partner that all she does is takes care of the compliance stuff. Make sure that we're good. And we have learned how to work together really well. And I think that's the essence of a team. So as a sponsorship team, we can come to the table with someone who maybe has a deal or maybe has capital to put in a deal, and we can help them be successful. And so the goal is to grow systematically and to have a few thousand units again. And, Gary Keller, in a book he wrote, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, if people haven't read it, they should go get it. I think it's one of the best real estate investing books ever written. But there's a quote in that book. It says, financial wealth, right? And I think it's a question that everybody needs to answer for themselves, is what's financial wealth to you? But he says that it is the unearned income to live your life's mission. So decide what your life's mission is, right? Is it that you want to own 100,000 units and drive a Rolls Royce? Great. That's a great mission. Go for it. Do it. But what are you going to do when you get there? Or is your mission to build a well in Africa or support homelessness or human trafficking? Whatever side of the aisle you're on, whatever you want to do, real estate is a vehicle that will help you get there. And good coaching, good training, good accountability. I've had a coach in my life for 20 years. And the reason I got successful and continue to be successful is my coach holds me accountable. And so I want to hold people accountable. I want to help them learn, grow personally so that they grow professionally.
That's great. Yeah. A couple of different things. First, so my goal is eventually to reach out and assist with homeless veteran issues, so mental health issues, things of that nature. So it's very upsetting to me to watch veterans who are out on the street who are homeless and unable to care for themselves, hooked on drugs, and have other mental health issues that they're not seeking help. So there's got to be a way to get to them. So that's the goal for me. Thank you for bringing up the Gary Keller book. That is fantastic. It's a great read. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, as I've got to ask now, you've done this twice. You had a huge business. It went, then you had to start all over again. And then you created in a whole other way, you created a new business. What's one thing that you learned as your wealth increased?
I think before I was very flagrant. Today, I'm much more calculated. Are you asking what did I learn about wealth?
Yeah. Essentially, as usually there's something that triggers a shift in mindset for somebody as they start to gain that wealth, that financial wealth that we were just talking about. What is one thing that you learned as you started to progress towards that goal?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, Bud, is that it is truly a marathon. I've heard it said for years, it's not a sprint. You're not going to accomplish it overnight. Don't get discouraged. Don't quit along the way. I think too many people just quit. I'll give you an example. Starting in June of last year, we started underwriting deals in Texas and Florida. The market had shifted. There were some changes. Interest rates were going up. Pricing was still distorted, and it's still distorted today. But we started underwriting. We ultimately underwrote 90 deals. It was about $1 billion in transactions. If I would have quit at 89, I wouldn't have found the deal that we're bringing to the market. If I would have quit at 80, I wouldn't have had the experiences I had in that last 10 deals. I wound up writing 10 LOIs over those 90 deals. 7 times we got to the altar as a bridesmaid. 3 times we were in the final best and best round and lost those deals for $300,000 to $500,000. If I would have said, man, there's no deals out there, this market's terrible, if I would have quit, if I'd have given up, I wouldn't have learned the things about underwriting that I learned at a deeper level. I wouldn't have learned the things I learned about financing at a deeper level. It's all stuff I know and maybe other investors know, but there's that place where you learn more. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to teach my underwriter as much as I've taught him in the last 6 months. So I think we all have to stay in the game, even when you think it's hard. We can't time the market. So you can't sit on the sidelines, put your pencil down and say things will be different in 6 months because you don't know that. There's opportunity out there. You just have to go look for it.
Yeah. At the time of this taping, today is April 14th. This will probably be airing right around the second week in May, but I'm not sure if you're aware of the breaking story about Houston foreclosure on 3,000 units. And I just got to get your opinion, knowing that you've been in at such a large scale.
So I had my meetup last night. This is a great segue. I had my meetup here in Chicago last night. And the speaker that I had speak knows the owner of that company personally, who I guess has
Jim Biggs.
Yeah, right.
Jim's a friend of mine. Yeah.
Okay, good. So Jim and I had a conversation about Jay, the owner of that company, and I said, Jim, what was the problem? And he said he grew too fast. He did too much. So if you remember, I said the 5 mistakes I made. The first one I made was I grew too fast as a company. So don't grow too fast. Be systematic and stable in what you're doing. When you buy an asset, stabilize that asset. Get it controlled. Don't take on more than you and your team can handle. because if you do, then you get distorted and it causes too much distraction in everything else in your life. I think he grew too fast. The second thing is, the debt. He had some pretty tough debt on there. When you're floating rate debt, and I think that there's a bunch of operators that thought they were pretty slick because they bought debt that they got a really low interest rate on 2 years ago that was a floater, and now all of a sudden it's 8, 9, 10%, and they're wondering, oh my God, how am I going to weather this storm now? So I think that this is just the first of some deals we're going to see come to the market that implode because of debt. So two things: watch the debt. I'm a fixed rate debt guy.
Yeah.
In this market especially. We're assuming 5 properties. We're assuming debt at 3.5% fixed for another 8 years on it. I'm pretty excited about that opportunity. The other thing that you have to look for is when you buy property and your debt is higher than your cap rate, be careful, right? There's an inversion there that you have to watch out for. When you buy a property, your debt should be less than your cap rate. And we just came through this run where everybody was buying property at equal to debt, or debt was a little bit higher. So I think that's where some distortion will be.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I appreciate that insight. That's fantastic. There's a Slack channel that I belong to where Jim Biggs put that story out and basically just summarized everything you said. I just wanted your opinion, so I thank you for that.
Yeah. I think he did that after we talked last night. That's funny. Yeah.
Most likely, yeah. Are you ready to take your real estate investments sky high? Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today, and we'll help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook. Just click the link down in the show notes. The best part, it's completely free to join. I help new real estate investors overcome the fear of failure and achieve generational wealth through buying rental properties. Go to budevans.com and book a call with me to find out why we guarantee your first rental property. Thanks. Now back to the show. So if you're ready, Mike, we're going to go into the Soaring 4. These are the same 4 questions that we ask every guest that can help someone who is just starting out achieve new heights.
But I thought you threw the script out.
Yeah. This is the one section that I have to ask because it's in my mind. I look at these 4 questions as though these are the things that really get to the point and shows everyone that everyone started out somewhere, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning. All right. What is one thing that you use to keep you motivated?
Is today, and I have to say this, you had me thinking back to the beginning a little bit, but today I have to say what keeps me motivated are the people that throw arrows at me and tell me that I'm a failure, I won't succeed, call me names. And there's a lot of that. And I think it happens because people are jealous and whatever, but that keeps me motivated because I have this attitude today of I'm going to succeed because I want you to see that, right?
Yeah, great. What is one thing that you learned? It could be in the beginning, it could be in the middle, or it could be now. What is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
The power of mindset. And what you have to do is take time every day and clear the garbage. But I'd be lying to you if I told you I woke up every day ready to go. I don't. There's the mornings I lay in bed and I go, are you kidding me again?
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be at this point in my life at 65 years old wondering, but I love what I do. I'm super passionate about real estate. I'm super passionate about the people around me and how I can help them excel. And So it's a mindset shift. I think we all have to change our mindset. I coach people all the time, and I coach them to start to think differently, whether you have to do that through affirmations or make yourself do things differently. Make your bed, go to the gym, prayer, meditation. Your morning disciplines are important.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot to be said about mindset. And I talked about it a little bit, the difference between motivation and discipline. You can listen to a song and get motivated, right? The Rocky theme, if you're from Philadelphia, sparks this drive behind you, but then you've actually got to go out and do the thing. And when it's after you've dealt with, I don't know, some asset management problem that is going to cost you 20, 30, 40,000 and it's been months, you've got to keep going. And that's when the motivation is gone. You've just got to have the discipline to push through.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, where's it come from? And I wish I had a good answer for it, but it is somewhere inside of me. I grew up, I learned a great work ethic from my dad, and I, I just go after it.
Yeah. I didn't have a choice. It got beat into me.
Yeah.
Growing up in a tradesman's house and then going into the military afterwards. It's just where it just turned out that way.
What's funny, it's nobody can make you do anything except yourself. It has to
True.
be your own passion, your own burning desire. And I'm going to do it just because I'm going to do it. So I might not be the best, and I'm certainly not the smartest when it comes to math, but I'll outwork you all the time.
Awesome. So great, because the next question is, what is something that you use to keep you on track?
My daily disciplines, my meditation and prayer time in the morning, going to the gym. If I stay on, those help me to stay on track. And then my calendar when I stick to it, which is most of the time.
Most of it. Exactly. Right. You can time block as much as you want. There's always something that's going to come up.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, what is one thing that if you could start all over, you would change?
I would listen to the people around me more, which I do today. Quick story. Do I have time for a quick story?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. 2008, I'm getting ready to close a deal. It's the biggest deal we're closing, 287 units. I'm sitting in a title office in Cincinnati. Get there about 11 o'clock in the morning. We're supposed to, closings at 11. I'm waiting for a wire from my office. 5 o'clock. I finally get my partner on the phone, my ex-partner. And he said, man, I don't know how to tell you this. And so it's 5 o'clock. I'm supposed to close a deal. My stomach falls out. Tell me what? He said, I took $500,000 from an escrow account and moved it to an operating account because we needed the cash. I thought I could have the money put back because we had some other bills that were supposed to be paid. I said, hey, I told you when we started this, you never do stuff like that. You got to keep your hands off the money. I know, I thought I could have it back. Fine. Long story short, I dry closed, means I signed all the paperwork, said I'll have it funded by Tuesday, went home. That was a Wednesday. Went home over the weekend. I wound up raising some money, sold all my partner's equity in that deal, raised enough money to close the deal, got the deal done. One of the best properties we ever bought, by the way, ran it, operated it. But that was Wednesday that happened. On Friday night, I was at dinner with my partner, his wife, my wife at the time. And we leave dinner and she says to me, now I want to pre-frame this because I never told my wife about business, never talked to her about anything good or bad, which in hindsight was bad, but also good. So I never told her about anything. We leave dinner that night and she says, I don't trust him. I don't think you're watching what's going on. I think I'm being a good husband. I say, honey, don't worry about it. I got this under control. Go on. And I knew really that I was in trouble at that point.
Mm-hmm.
About a week later, that was Friday. On Wednesday the next week, I'm out to lunch with my attorney. We leave lunch and we're in the parking lot. He goes, "Look, I want to tell you something." I said, "What?" He goes, "I don't know what your partner's up to, but I think you need to pay attention and watch some of the things going on." And I said, "Oh, Bob, don't worry about this. I have it under control. It's all good." And by then I knew I didn't have it under control, that there were problems. The point of that story is listen to people around you because they see things going on that you don't even think they see going on. Mm-hmm. If there's something wrong, make sure you pay attention to it. I'm a lot quicker to disengage with somebody today if I think there's a problem or an issue or could possibly be a problem or an issue. I pay attention more today to we all have peripheral vision for a reason. We need to use it, right?
Yeah.
And not have our blinders on so hard. So hope that answers that.
Yeah, that it does. And that's a fantastic point. It's funny. And it's also unfortunate that a lot of people learn that after something major happens, not necessarily before. So that's a great point. And that's actually a great thing to close on. Are you ready to take your real estate investments sky high? Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today, and we'll help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook. Just click the link down in the show notes. The best part, it's completely free to join. I help new real estate investors overcome the fear of failure and achieve generational wealth through buying rental properties. Go to budevans.com and book a call with me to find out why we guarantee your first rental property. Thanks. Now back to the show. So, Mike, the wisdom, I appreciate you being here, man. I really do. And I know you're busy and I know you're jumping on all this stuff with the books and the coaching, and I just really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bud. I appreciate it. And certainly look forward to staying in touch.
Likewise. For those of you listening on the podcast and those of you watching on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. Until next time we meet. Aim high.